Tata Chanavatar Chaitanya Lila Vishtar Karino Do Nityananda Parabja Kadunadena Bhushito Yaktachano Burachincho Bhavande Yasurupino Shri Guru Gaur Gandharva Govindas Cha Ganaisaha Jayanti Patakas Ch.Ch Sarvesham Karanartina. So we're continuing this morning with Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita at the feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the company of the beautiful Vaishnavas. We began this chapter yesterday, describing Mahaprabhu's attempt to go to Vrindavan. And we heard how the devotees, they tried to stop Mahaprabhu for a period of about 2 years. He was obstructed from his plans. Finally, they give him permission. Not that he needs permission, but he's bound by the love of his devotees. So he's in such a posing where he likes to have the approval of his devotees before he embarks upon any plan. And so finally he starts on his way, and many devotees, they follow him up to a certain point. And the king, Prataparuja, sends messages to all the towns and villages within his jurisdiction, and which he knows Mahaprabhu will travel through, and requests them to make very grand arrangements. So Mahaprabhu has first-class accommodation and prasadam and so on and so forth. And not only that, but Prataparuja orders that wherever Mahaprabhu goes, where he goes to take bath or whatever it may be, they should construct a memorial there. Everywhere that he goes should be commemorated in some way. And he says, let me see, it's a very sweet expression that he makes. But he says, like, I will die in that place. Like where Mahaprabhu has gone, I will die there. Let's see. Okay, here it is. He said he told them wherever Mahaprabhu took his bath or crossed to the other side of the river, they should establish a memorial column and make that a great place of pilgrimage. Indeed, said the king, I will take my bath there, and let me also die there. Such love he has for Mahaprabhu. Okay, so we'll continue from there. We heard a description of the principal devotees who accompanied Mahaprabhu. For now, they will accompany him up to a certain point, and then allow him to continue alone. Or maybe they're planning to follow Mahaprabhu the whole way. I'm not sure. Anyhow, we will hear. Gadadhar Pandit Jabe Sangete Cholila Ch.Ch Sanyasna Chadiho Prabhuni Shedila. When Gadadhar Pandit started to go with the Lord, he was forbidden to come and was asked not to give up the vow of Ch.Ch Sanyas. So Mahaprabhu is allowing so many devotees to come with him, but when Gadadhar tries to come, Mahaprabhu stops him, saying that this is a special type of vow that some persons would take, Ch.Ch Sanyas, a vow that they would stay in a particular place of pilgrimage for their entire lives. So whether that's Navadvip or Vrindavan or Puri or some holy place like that, one will stay there and spend their whole life there without traveling anywhere else. So Gadadhar had made that type of vow to stay in Puri. So when he goes with Mahaprabhu, he says, no, you must maintain your vow of Kshetra Sannyas. What does Gadadhar say? Let my Kshetra Sannyas go to hell. Pandit kohe jaha tumi se nilachal Kecha Sanyas Mor Jok Rasatal. When he was requested to return to Jagannath Puri, Gadadhar Pandit told the Lord, "Wherever you are staying is Jagannath Puri. Let my so-called Kshetra sannyas go to hell." Prabhu kohe iha koro gopinath sevan, Prabhu Pandit kohe koti seva tvatpada darshan. When Mahaprabhu asked Gadadhar Pandit to remain at Jagannath Puri and engage in Gopinath service, Gadadhar Pandit replied, "One renders service to Gopinath 1,000,000 times simply by seeing your lotus feet." So Mahaprabhu is saying, well, what about your Kshetra sannyas? Well, let that go to hell. What about your service to Gopinath? Because he's serving this Gopinath deity. He says, serving your lotus feet, millions of times over, I'm fulfilling service to Gopinath. But Mahaprabhu is not accepting this. Prabhu kohe seva charibe amar lage dosh, iha rohi seva koro amar santosh. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, "If you abandon his service, it will be my fault. It is better that you remain here and render service. That will be my satisfaction." Pandit kohe sabdo shama upar, Toma sange na jaibo, jaiba ekeshwar. The Pandit replied, "Do not worry, all the faults will be on my head. I shall not accompany you, but shall go alone. So I will go like a little separately from you." Parallel. Aike dekite jaibo, na jaibo toma lagi, pratigya seva jagdosh tarami bagi. I shall go to see Ch.Ch. Mata. I shall not go for your sake. I shall be responsible for the abandoning of my vow and service to Gopinath. So Mahaprabhu said, well, if you're like leaving your service and your vows to accompany me, then I become responsible. So I can't accept this. And Gadadhar says, well, actually I won't go to travel with you at all. I will go for a completely different reason. So you won't be involved at all. And I will be responsible for all the sin of neglecting my service and vows. So Mahaprabhu is quiet for the moment. Etaboli Pandit Gosai Pitak Cholila Katakasi Prabhutare Sange Anaila. Thus Gadadhar Pandit Goswami traveled alone. But when they all arrived at Katak, Mahaprabhu called him, and he went into the Lord's company. Panditer Goranga Prem Bhujana Jai Pratigya Shri Krishna Seva Charilo China Prai. No one can understand the loving intimacy between Gadadhar Pandit and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar Pandit gave up his vow and service to Gopinath just as one gives up a piece of straw. So this is quite a an interesting point here. It requires, in order to appreciate what's being expressed here, a certain level of understanding is required beforehand. What do you mean he gave up his service like a piece of straw? Like, that's easy to do. I could give up my service like a piece of straw. Many times, we come across this. We were discussing last week this Bhagavad Bhakti Tasarvam, where it mentions Bhagavad Bhakti Tar Ityuchija Viderapi. If necessary, one must be ready to give up their attachment to the Vedic regulations, right? Like that's meant, like Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Am I talking really loud? Because this ear is blocked up. And it sounds like there's this massive echo. I sound normal? Yeah. Okay. Srila Sridhar Maharaj in this verse, he selects 3 points which constitute essentially what is Sharanagati, and he selects that as one of them. So it's such an important point, but for us it doesn't really have any meaning because we don't have that kind of attachment or appreciation for following, a regulated, practicing life. We don't have that kind of attachment to scripture. So it's difficult for us to relate to, but we can get some type of idea, some kind of idea from these kinds of statements. The Braja also in this on this subject, is the example of the Braja Gopis, that they gave up their chastity for Krishna. For someone who appreciates like how serious it is, for someone who appreciates the significance of following the Vedic instructions, and then the consequences of giving that up, that's like a major risk that they took. They took the risk of sin, losing their reputation, for the sake of Krishna. It's actually a sacrifice to give up religious duty and religious practices. It's like it's actually the biggest kind of sacrifice one can make. Well, for one who has attachment, to give up sinful activity, that's actually, in the big picture, that's a basic thing. Like anyone who's half human should be able to give up sinful activity. But to give up religious activity, that's a higher level sacrifice, actually. To give up pious activity, religious activity, duty, to give up one's duty for the sake of Krishna, that is a major sacrifice, To leave the path of good for doing something that's apparently bad, but for Krishna's satisfaction, that's a major sacrifice. And there's that example of Yudhisthira, right? In the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna asks him to lie, but he can't lie. For someone who has appreciation for Dharma, to leave the path of Dharma is very difficult. Very, very. It's a sacrifice. So, this is being described here as a glorious quality of Gadadhar Pandit. That for the sake of Mahaprabhu, out of his love, because of his natural deep love for Mahaprabhu, he was ready to sacrifice his religious activity. It's not a light thing. And to make that transition also from following a more regulated practicing life to a spontaneous practicing life, that's not a light thing either. And that's one reason why it is important for us to try as much as possible to follow some regulated life. Otherwise it will be considered too cheap to us, following the line of free, spontaneous devotion. If we are practicing in a very haphazard and random way, then it will be difficult for us to transition. We won't be able to. Without that clear platform, it will be difficult to transition to a more free expression of service. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, I give this example sometimes. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, when he heard about some devotee couple who were divorcing and remarrying, they were marrying some other persons. Srila Sridhar Maharaj was disturbed, and he said, how will they be able to appreciate the sacrifice of the Braja Gopis? If they're living in such a haphazard way, with no appreciation for basic moral principles of this world, and how will they be able to appreciate the nature of Raga Marg? And on what a high and pure platform it's on. how would they be able to understand that the Braja Gopis, in breaking their chastity for Krishna, are actually making a huge sacrifice? They can't understand that. It's all become very cheap and very muddled and mixed. So first you have to learn this lesson, then you can learn the other lesson. First appreciate the importance of following these things, and then appreciate the value of giving them up. and that giving it up, that will also be something that is irresistible. It will be it will be an irresistible pull within. It won't be something that one decides to do. No one can understand the loving intimacy between Gadadhar Pandit and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar Pandit gave up his vow and service to Gopinath just as one gives up a piece of straw. Tahar charitre prabhu antare santosh, tahar hate dori kohe kore pranoirosh. Gadadhar Pandit's behavior was very pleasing to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart. Nevertheless, the Lord took his hand and spoke to him, displaying the anger of love. So internally, Mahaprabhu's pleased. He's pleased by Gadadhar's intense devotion for him, but externally, for the purpose of instruction, he's showing some anger in a loving mood. Pratigya seva charibe to mahunesh. You have abandoned Gopinath's service and broken your vow to live in Puri. All that is now complete because you have come so far. So you've actually already broken your vow by coming this far. He's come into the Katak is right next to Puri, isn't it? So it's like the next city. Amar sange rohite chaho vanchani jasuk, tomar dui dharma jai amar hoi duk. Your wanting to go with me is simply a desire for sense gratification. In this way, you are breaking two religious principles, so your kshetra sannyas and your service to the deity. And because of this, I am very unhappy. Mor sukh chaho jadi nila chole cholo, amar shapa jadi ar kichu bolo. If you want my happiness, please return to Nilachal. You will simply condemn me if you say any more about this matter. Etta boli Mahaprabhu nokate chadila, morchita hoya pandit tatai podila. Saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got into a boat, and Gadadhar Pandit immediately fell down unconscious. And we would experience similar things with Gurudev. Everybody wanted to be with Gurudev all the time, But sometimes Gurudev, needed devotees to do their service. And there would be different dramas about that. Oh, Gurudev, you don't want to see me. I want to come. You have your service there. Oh, Gurudev, you don't want to see me. All kinds of situations used to arise, Or Gurudev would go somewhere, then everybody would follow him, and then there'd be nobody left in that temple that he just left, or we would see that in India a lot because Gurudev would mostly be in Calcutta in his last years, and so everyone wanted to be in Calcutta, but then Gurudev was always concerned, who's in Navadvip? Like Navadvip needs to be running, so. And he could also be he could be very sweet and very loving and affectionate and intimate and so on and so forth, but he could also, in the way Mahaprabhu is showing here, Gurudev could also be sometimes very detached, and very, not, just in a very, just being very practical. Like we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, someone came to see him, and Gurudev said, who had some service in another country, and Gurudev said, why did you come? And, oh, Gurudev, I wanted to see you. Well, now you've seen me. For him, everything was happening on the conscious plane. There's no need for that physical connection. Especially not with persons like us, it's not like he's getting that much out of our company. But, on the other hand, he could be very, very sweet and affectionate. But that was, as I was mentioning recently, that was one of the themes that was prominent in my own relationship with Gurudev. That he was emphasizing that the real connection with him comes through service, not through being physically with him. Of course, when it comes to the Lord and his eternal associates, it's a different category. It's a different category. This is, it is a different category altogether. And the Lord, of course, does, he is very happy to have his associates with him. But this is part of his Leela, This is part of his Leela. There are pastimes of union and pastimes of separation. But we can take from this as as one instruction here that the importance of fulfilling our service duties, as we learn from Gurudev. But no doubt there are many things behind this pastime. Okay, read a little bit more. So Gadadhar Pandit has fainted, he's unconscious. Pandite loya jaite sarvabhome agya dila Bhattacharya kohe uta Ch.Ch Prabhu lila. Mahaprabhu ordered Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to take Gadadhar Pandit with him. The Bhattacharya told Gadadhar Pandit, "Get up, such are the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." Tumi jan Krishna nija pratigya charila Bhakta kripa vashe bhishmer pratigya rakila. You should know that Lord Krishna himself violated his own promise just to keep the promise of grandfather Bhishma. Sa nigamam, now this is quotation from Bhagavatam, Sa nigamam appahai mat pratigyam itam adhikartam avapluto ratasta drita rata charano byachak chaladkor hadir ivahantam ibam goto tariya. So this is spoken by Bhishma. Intending to make my promise true, Lord Krishna broke his own promise not to take up a weapon at Kurukshetra. With his outer garments falling off, Lord Krishna jumped from his chariot, picked up a wheel, and came running at me to kill me. Indeed, he rushed at me like a lion going to kill an elephant, and he caused the whole earth to tremble. Purport: Lord Krishna promised not to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra or even to take up a weapon. But when Bhishma wanted to keep his own promise, to break the promise of the Lord, the Lord immediately got down from the chariot. And to make Bhishma's promise true, he picked up a chariot wheel and rushed forward to kill him. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam. So Krishna, as we all know, he made that promise, right, that he wouldn't personally fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. He gave his army to Duryodhana, and he became Arjuna's charioteer. So he made that promise. But then Bhishma made a promise that he would break Krishna's promise. and so he attacked Arjuna, right? I think that was his clever strategy. He attacked Arjuna very fiercely. So Krishna knew that the only way Arjuna could be saved was if he intervened. So in that way, Krishna came at him with a chariot wheel, right, running at him, and so then they had some exchange, because he knew that the Lord, he doesn't take his own promises very seriously, but he takes the promises of his devotees extremely seriously. Gurudev, he commented about that famous Bhagavad Gita verse, Kunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashiti. Oh Arjuna, you declare to the world that my devotee is never vanquished. And Gurudev, he commented that there's one explanation of that is that if Krishna will tell the people, my devotee will never be vanquished, people may be a little doubtful, because Krishna doesn't keep his promises all the time. But everybody knows that Krishna always keeps the promises of his devotee. So if Arjuna, one of the best devotees of Krishna, will make the promise, then everybody will believe it. And so in the same way, Mahaprabhu is concerned that Gadadhar Pandit will not break his vows. Hemata Prabhu tomar viched sahiya, tomar pratigya raka koilo jatna koriya. Similarly, tolerating separation from you, Mahaprabhu has protected your vow with great endeavor. So it is also a sacrifice for Mahaprabhu to make such a decision, because the company of Gadadhar Pandit is so valuable. Hemata kohitade praboda kodila, dui jane shoka kula nila chole aila. In this way, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya revived Gadadhar Pandit. Then both of them, very much grief-stricken, returned to Jagannath Puri, Nilachal. Prabhu lagi dharma karma chare bhakta gan, bhakta dharma hani prabhu na hoy sahan. All the devotees would abandon all kinds of duties for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sake. Yet the Lord did not like the devotees giving up their promised duties. Premara vivarta iha shune je jan, achire miliye tare chetana charan. All these are the misgivings of loving affairs. Whoever listens to these incidents gets the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet very soon. Dui Raja Patra je Prabhu Sange jai, Jajapur Asi Prabhu Tade Dilen Vidai. When Mahaprabhu and his party arrived at Yajapur, the Lord asked the two government officers who had come with him to return. Prabhu Vidai Dilodai Jai Tar Sane, Krishna Kata Ramananda Sane Ratri. Mahaprabhu bade farewell to the officers, and Rai Ramananda continued on with the Lord. The Lord talked to Ramananda Rai about Sri Krishna day and night. Pratigrame Rajagyai Rajabritya Gan, Navyagrihe Nanajravye Koroye Sevan. In each and every village, in compliance with the king's order, government officers constructed new houses and filled each of them with stocks of grain. Thus they served the Lord. Hemata Choli Prabhu Remuna Haila Tata Hoite Ramananda Rayavi Daidila. Mahaprabhu finally arrived at Ramuna, where he bade farewell to Sri Ramananda Rai. Umete Purila Rai Nahi Kochetan Raye Kole Kori Prabhu Koruye Grandan. When Ramananda Rai fell to the ground and lost consciousness, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took him upon his lap and began to cry. Ayer vidai bhav na jai sahan, kohite na padiye tahavarnan. Mahaprabhu's feelings of separation from Ramananda Rai are very difficult to describe. Indeed, it is almost intolerable to do so, and therefore I cannot describe them further. Tobe ondra deshima prabhu choli haila, tata raja dikadi prabhu de milila. When Mahaprabhu finally arrived at the border of the state of Orissa, a government officer came there to meet him. Nindui chariteo korilo sevan, age choli badese kohevi varan. For 2 or 4 days the government officer served the Lord. He also gave the Lord detailed information of what was ahead. Madhya Javan Raja age adikar tar boye patekeho nade cholipar. He informs the Lord that the territory ahead was ruled by a Muslim governor who was a drunkard. Out of fear of this king, no one could walk the road freely. Pichalada parjanta sabta adikar tar boye nadikeho hoite nade par. The jurisdiction of the Muslim government extended up to Pichalada. Due to fear of the Muslims, no one would cross the river. Din kotoroho sandi kori tar sane, tobe suke no kate koraibo gamane. Maharaj Prataparudra's government officer further informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he should stay at the Orissa border for some days so that a peaceful agreement could be negotiated with the Muslim governor. And that way the Lord would be able to cross the river peacefully in a boat. I think that might be a good place to stop, actually. Yeah, because then there's a... Yeah. Okay. Jai, Shri Chaitanya Char. Oh, because, so Orissa was actually independent. Most of India was under Muslim rule. But Orissa was maybe the only place, or one of a few places. I believe there were a few other places. Jaipur, I heard it was independent. Vishnupur, I heard there were a few places. So Orissa was one of those places. But Bengal was like the stronghold, I believe, right, of the Muslim, rulership of India. So they're coming to the border of Orissa. They're approaching Bengal. So there's some concern about, there not being any trouble when Mahaprabhu is entering the Muslim territory. Okay, so I think it's a good place to stop there.
You were mentioning about these profound expressions of firstly being able to appreciate Vedic practices and then being able to reject them. And that's like beyond, like both of those things are actually beyond what I'm able to appreciate. But at the same time, I'm thinking about like in Upadesha Amrita, it says, an over-attachment to the rules and then sort of lack of attachment to
Yes.
the rules is not good. So
Yes.
like just try to find a balance, and I was wondering if you could shed some light on trying to find some progressive, like some harmony within one's progressive spiritual life regarding those matters.
Well, I mean, we have to develop an understanding of the purpose of the rules. If we understand what the rules have been created for, then we can have a better understanding as to when and how to apply. Yeah, I mean, of course our default is to try to carefully follow all such things. But it shouldn't be done in such a rigid way. We have to understand that the rules are not themselves the end, because that's the idea that can sometimes develop. We may talk like that. We may hear others talk. Oh, that's what it says in the book. I'm just doing it how it says it in the book. We need to develop a living understanding of these things. So just as a very basic example, can you please come and do this service? Oh, but I haven't chanted my 16 rounds. I mean, this is like a baby example. I haven't chanted my 16 rounds yet. That's much more important. Or I have to finish that before I go to do anything else. But there's like some urgent service, We have a respectable guest who's just unexpected respectable guest who's just turned up. We've got to like drop everything and attend to our Vaishnava visitor. So many things can pop up, and we have to know when certain things will take priority over others. We have to understand it's not that we're following formulas. It's not about a particular calculated way of practicing. But what is the real end is to please Krishna, to satisfy the heart of Guru and Gauranga, there to make them happy. That's really the essence of anukul yena Krishna nushil, that which is favorable, right? This is in Rupa Goswami's famous verse, and that is that verse can be misunderstood, like favorable, like that's kind of a vague word, favorable. But our gurus have specified it means what is pleasing to Krishna, not what's pleasing to you or pleasing to other random practitioners, but what is specifically pleasing to the higher Vaishnavas and the Lord. So, yeah, we have to connect the living substance. Yeah, I mean, we'll be shy to break some regulations, and we will try to observe them, but at the same time, if there's some more important service, we were hearing the other day that expression of Srila Sridhar Maharaj that in some circumstances, to clean the stool of a Vaishnav may be more valuable than worshipping the deity. Like it's pretty radical. So, yeah, I mean, it requires sincerity, because it's easy to cheat oneself. And it also requires some sensitivity and discrimination to be able to understand, what is the actual necessity in any given situation. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's beautiful, Vishakha. I mean, I'm thinking in the pastime of the Shalikam the butcher scale, But that's also clear that it's his wish to continue with that. He makes it clear. And someone that is to try to find what's right and wrong in a certain situation for practitioners. It's like you say something that's a little tricky and requires some sincerity and introspection.
Krishna consciousness is very practical, We can make it very complicated, but there's a lot of just common sense involved, We were hearing from Sri Guru and His Grace. Srila Sridhar Maharaj gives us wonderful examples of Napoleon. Napoleon and the other one, I think, was Alexander the Great. And one of them was, I think Napoleon is the one who stuck the nail with the egg. Like whoever can balance this, can hold this egg on a nail, they will be a very great ruler. And Napoleon, or was it Columbus? Maybe it was Columbus. Columbus just or whoever it was, just put the egg and a piece was left standing. It was like Srila Sridhar is making the point, we're interested in practical, realistic
solutions.
Yeah. Along those lines, he was making some point like that. Like we want a real acquaintance with reality. And then the other one was, I think the other one was Alexander the Great. Whoever can cut this knot, they will become very great. Some very complicated knot. And he just took his sword and cut it. Straightforward, common sense dealings. We can, I see sometimes, how we can become very silly, very silly. Just as a little example, But there was this one funny incident where, of course, I won't say the name, and they're a very beautiful devotee, and it's good, really, to have these kind of common sense. It's good to have this type of caution, but it's just very opposite to my own approach, But Arti has finished. All the curtains close. You bring Tulasi out, and then Tulasi Parikrama finishes. You put Tulasi back, and then the pujari will open the curtains at that time, right? And then the curtains are open about half an hour or 40 minutes or something. 45 minutes before the curtains are closed again, and the offering is made, right? So one day I closed the Tulasi Parikrama finished, but as often is the case, the pujari had disappeared, right? And so we were sitting here maybe 10 minutes and the curtains were still closed, and I was feeling, oh, well, we'd like to have Mahaprabhu's darshan. And I said, oh, well, maybe we can just open the curtains, And then there was a very sweet devotee there who got very alarmed. Like, should I go and ask the pujari if it's okay? Like I know Mahaprabhu's schedule.
Yeah.
Like I know it's okay to open the curtains right now. And I was also clean, like I could go and step on the altar, it would have been okay. But this devotee was just very, very concerned. Like alarmed, like, oh, I'm gonna go, and they went out to ask the pujari. Like they had some idea, like there's a designated person who does this, and they know like exactly how and when to do it, and it was like this very kind of like abstruse idea. And for me, it was very direct and practical and common sense. Like I know it's totally fine. Mahaprabhu hasn't had the boga offering yet. Like just very straightforward. I'll just go and open the curtains. Like not like we're gonna sit for half an hour and wait for the pujari to come and is the designated person. So that's just a little example, But these kind of things come up all the time, So, yeah, we have to have a living. It's about having a living understanding, not being bound by the book. We follow the book, but we're not a slave to the book. We're a slave to the living nature of things. And we saw that Gurudev, he would that there's that funny story that reminds you, that funny story of the man who would some type of priest who would, I don't remember. There's a story of the mullah. And then this other one, I don't remember if it's also a Muslim story too. But some kind of priest, he would give a class every day, and there was a dog that used to run around and create disturbance. And so one day he requested, can you tie the dog up when we're having the discourse? So they started doing that. Whenever the discourse would start, someone would tie up the dog, And so then eventually the dog dies, right? And then some very simple-hearted persons, they've got this whole formula worked out in their head. You've heard this before, haven't you? Really? So some very simple-hearted person thought, oh, well, whenever we have a class going on, there's always a dog tied up to the tree nearby. So therefore it means we need to have a dog always tied up. So they went and got another dog. When that dog had died, they went and got another dog. So they could tie it up when the class was going on.
Lucky dogs.
So it's a nice example. These kind of things go on. We get these very silly conceptions based on the form of things, and that's the danger of being fixed on the form.
Yeah.
So like I heard Srila Charjamar, she told of one occasion in the Mat, there was some type of debate going on about the procedure of puja, some type of quarrel. And because of that, the offering was being greatly delayed. Krishna's hungry. Just give him some food. But there was this argument going on about the proper way to do something in the offering, and so apparently Srila Sridhar came and threw a flower and said, "The archan is over. Just offer some boga to the Lord, And in the same way, we're told, if somebody should be clean, when they're going to make an offering. But at the same time, what if you're not clean? You know, like especially if it's a lady. Normally, ladies when they menstruate, right, for the first 3 days they won't do any puja. What if there's nobody else around? The Lord's hungry. Like, just give him some food, for goodness sake. Like, don't get too caught up with how clean you are. Like, so we have to have this kind of like practical, and we're approaching a person. This is the difference between like general religion and Krishna consciousness. If we're understanding it properly, it's about a relationship with a person. If your child is hungry, you give them some food. You're not going to sit and analyze this factor, that factor. You're not going to offer them incense at that time, offer them a garland. I'm just hungry, please, Mom, give me some food. So we need to have this living understanding of what it's about. And Gurudev, he on the subject of niyamagraha, he didn't like either qualities in the devotees, to be too attached or to be too loose. Like if we take the example of Ekadashi, Gurudev, when he was asked, is it okay to take chocolate on Ekadashi? He said, is it a bean or is it a fruit? We say it's a fruit, so if it's a fruit, it's okay to take it. And Gurudev says, well, that's beside the point, The point is we're trying to follow a particular mood on Ekadashi, and chocolate goes against that mood of simplicity. So, we will not take chocolate on Ekadashi. But then to another person, that was his general instruction to Mleccha Westerners who can't control their senses, right? But then another disciple, who I won't mention the name, but who comes from a Indian Brahminical background and very attached to following these things, Gurudev forced him to eat chocolate on Ekadashi once. To break that attachment, because it's not about that, So, yeah, we have to avoid both. There are those famous verses, and maybe in the Puranas, I don't remember, but Vishnu, I can't remember. Jagadananda Prabhu likes that verse very much. To always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. You heard him telling that verse. I'm trying to remember the Sanskrit. Satatam Vishnu. I can't. Vishmar Tavina Jatu Chit. Etayor Eva Kinkara. To always remember Krishna and to never forget Krishna. All of the rules, all of the injunctions and prohibitions in the scriptures, they are all servants of these two principles. This is the goal, to always remember, to never forget. So all the injunctions, they are to help you remember. All the prohibitions are to help you not forget. So that's really the essence of it. And so whatever is facilitating that, accept it. Whatever is not facilitating that, reject it. And that may change according to time, place, and circumstance. What is helpful? The scriptures are giving guidelines, but they may not always be, they're passive. They can't jump out, oh no, don't follow this in this situation. No, they can't jump out and tell you that. So that's why we need to have a living understanding. And of course, ideally there's a Vaishnava who we can consult with, who has that living understanding, but we can't just lean on that. We also need to develop that for ourselves.
Everyone has different characteristics as well, and so some kind of introspection as well is required, right? To understand what's really required of me.
That's another point. What's appropriate for us at our level? That is another point. That is another point. Yeah, we shouldn't be too gung-ho about it all. What is our own adhikar? What is necessary? There were some occasions, like as one example of that, there were some occasions, I know of at least 2 occasions. Of course, there wouldn't have been that many. That may be the only 2 occasions, but where someone, and this is a little radical, and it, not everyone will be able to digest this, but were 2 on 2 different occasions, one of Gurudev's personal servitors, they had some, how can we say, they got into a relationship with a lady, and as a consequence, the ladies, they became pregnant. And so what's the right thing, right? You have to be responsible and go and take care of that. But Gurudev, he gave the instruction, you're living a full service life. It's difficult for someone to come to that point of being inspired to, it's rare, what I'm trying to say. It's rare for someone to come to that level of inspiration to want to serve full time. So his consideration was, well, you've made an accident. And so he said, I will take care of those ladies and their children. I'll maintain them, and you continue. You continue with your service. That was Gurudev. So he was telling them, leave the path of Dharma. You've incurred this reaction. But you've already had this level of inspiration to serve exclusively, so why should you throw that away? So I will take responsibility for your mistake. I will maintain them, and you continue. In both cases, they felt too obliged. They felt, oh, I've come into this situation, I feel like I can't abandon, this lady and this responsibility. In both cases, they made that decision. That it's quite erratic. That's what I was discussing. That was the point I was discussing earlier. To give up sinful activity is relatively easy for anyone who has some consciousness, but to give up pious activity, that's another level. To give up dharma, to give up righteous behavior. And then, imagine if they did that. People would accuse them. Oh, you've abandoned your this lady, you've had your enjoyment, and now you're just, abandoning them. They would be accused by society. But Gurudev's consideration was from a higher angle of vision. They've already come to such a high level of inspiration. So we don't want to throw that away. But it was too much of a jump in both cases. So yeah, like along the lines of what you're saying, like in a case like that, you could only make that decision if a Mahabhagava was empowering you, like under the auspices of a Vaishnava of that caliber. You wouldn't be too eager to give up that level of responsibility. You couldn't really. You could only, there are certain things that you could only do if it was with the backing of a Vaishnava, a superior Vaishnava like that. You couldn't make that kind of decision. So, yeah, I mean, main need is we must proceed with consciousness and introspection, as you said. And, try to be acquainted with the living nature of the thing. Okay, well, we're making the pujari's life difficult. We better stop. They're waiting to. But he can actually come at any time. I think he knows that. But busy day for everybody. So, Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Will you please lead us? Ask my Pandita Devidasi.
Hari Haraye Nama Krishnaya Dhavaya Nama Hari Haraye Nama Krishnaya Dhavaya Nama Hari
Jai Shri Bhakti Sundari Bhakti Prasanna.
Jai.
Shri Bhakti Shri Jai Shri Guru Ram Pradhan.
Jai.
Um,